It is 3:38 p.m. or sorry, 5:38 p.m. on May 4th. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Special board meeting. You've got Rhea, Lewis, Samantha. No, Lewis, sorry. I'm so sorry. Anthony. Hi, Anthony. Rhea, Anthony, no Lewis, Samantha, Evelyn, Marie, and Ashley present. I don't see any public present right now. Nope. Okay. Let's go ahead. Oh, sorry, guys. Here's copies of the agenda. If you can take one, pass it down. Yeah. Gotta go here. Sorry. Most reference. Okay. Thank you. The first order of business is that I would like to make a motion to approve the staff's proposed summer Saturday schedule, which would reduce public service hours at both locations as follows. The main library would operate 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., continuing its existing summer Saturday schedule. And when I say existing, I mean past practice over former years. And the Lansingburg branch would reduce from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. down to 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The schedule would be in effect Saturdays starting May 30th through September 5th, with regular hours resuming September 12th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Wait,
Oh,
we haven't
do we
discussed
have
it.
discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
So at the last meeting, there was discussion about this. I found it very confusing. There seemed to be a lot of contradictions. It was stated that the busiest day was Saturdays. Also, that we should have people work shorter days, but pay them for the full day. That there was a staff member that would work Saturdays, but not the shorter days. I was also told that I was trying to run the library on the back of staff, which surprised me because I thought, that our last budget really benefited them. So I started thinking about it. And I think we have three groups of stakeholders. We have the staff, we have the patrons, and we have the taxpayers. Looking at the staff, I think they did well. I don't, that's why I was so surprised to hear that wasn't the feeling. There was a 9% increase in salaries. There was an increase of health insurance reimbursement from 50% to 75%, an increase of 50% in terms of the library share. And there was an additional paid holiday. The taxpayers, they had a 30% increase in their taxes. So, I think they took some of the weight. I figured, looking at the patrons, I think they were the biggest losers. At Maine, and I can't speak to Lansingburg, maybe you or Evelyn can, but at Maine, they lost 8 hours for a full year per week of library. And during the non-summer time, which is about 9 months, they lost an additional hour from what they had. I also think it would be a really bad look when we're saying we don't have enough money to be able to afford evening hours and such, to be saying that staff do not have to work the full time that they're getting paid for. But I see this as an opportunity. I think we should be thinking differently. We shouldn't be thinking the way we always did. For one thing, we have air conditioning, which we didn't have previously during the summer. Now, I don't know how well that's going to work because it's not the full library, but I'm hoping that'll take the edge off. and keep us from closing. In addition to what I pointed out about the number of hours that were reduced, that I think that people were expecting to increase again with the new budget increase. They also didn't have access except for 6 days during July this past year. One of the most frequent refrains I heard was, oh, I really love the library, but it's closed all the time. I think this was something we can do for them, that we can say to them, hey, we can't open it in the evenings if we indeed can't. But hey, we're going to stay open on Saturdays for the full day. We're not going to close like we usually did.
My recollection was some of the, I guess, newness of this proposal that summer Saturdays hadn't been implemented at Lansingburg. Was it only Maine that it was instituted, or was it?
I don't know.
You're closing early?
Yeah.
I think they took the brunt by staying open longer than Maine did on Saturdays. So they didn't close that one. That's new. The only thing is, we did hear that there is less usage of the library Saturday afternoons, that it really drops off.
Right.
And if we are in an environment right now where we have to be careful with being understaffed and still underfunded, that might have to be something that's, bends a little bit to what we need. And I understand all those points. You're right. Not giving something to the patrons who actually supported everything we asked for is tough, but at least it's staying open. And at least here, people are pretty used to it being closed at 1 o'clock. Air conditioning or no air conditioning. It wasn't because of the air conditioning. It's the rest of the week would be hot too. And it was still open till, well, they used to be open till late, but it's 6 and then 5 on Fridays. It's the those traditional hours. Not saying again, we have to be traditional, but if something has to give, at least we have some hours at both locations. And people don't have to travel from one to the other.
But what we were told was that it didn't work well for the full-time staff to work on a partial day. That they would like to be able to put in the full time. So there, if that's the case, there isn't much additional cost to having the library in Maine open on Saturday all day.
Actually, what we were told was they wanted to be paid for the full day.
Right.
They didn't have the objection to getting a half a day off. And that was left undecided if we were going to do that. And in fact, I believe Lori said, if we do something a little differently, then they wouldn't be asking for that.
So it's that benefited employees would receive full pay for the day, non-benefited would not. So anyone that's paid, hourly, well, they're all paid hourly, but anyone below a benefited threshold would just be paid for the hours worked. Everyone benefited would be paid above if they were scheduled to come in based on their schedule, right? Now, the reason that we have this is that it is a standard library perk that many libraries institute, which is summer hours. Many libraries do this, not just us. Maine has done it in the past. We're looking to do it in Lansingburg because we're having staffing issues. And I think that what we're failing to understand is that the budget passed to keep Lansingburg open, not to necessarily restore evening hours or anything to that effect. That was never a discussion point. We knew that evening hours were off the table and that we do not have the staff to support it right now. Also, we are still severely understaffed. The reason for paying them for that time is that you're getting people who call in on a Saturday more frequently right now. So it's to incentivize someone to come in for the day because of the number of no-shows that are happening when someone has plans or they're denied for that coverage or other things. So being understaffed has yet to be solved for. We hired one staff person last year. We hired one library assistant end of last year. We are still severely understaffed and it is not a safe level. Do you know why they're asking for this? Do you know why they want this right now? And that was my question. Do you get that it's not just that they want the perk, they are concerned about safe staffing levels right now?
And I'm not able to speak to that. I've never had to staff for coverage.
Mhm.
I haven't had that experience.
But as a board member, we're responsible for understanding that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other alternatives that staff brought to us to solve the problem of staffing on Saturdays was just close Lansingburg entirely on Saturday. But they only have the staff.
That was their original
That
proposal.
was their original proposal, which we don't want to do because, as Lori presented, Saturdays are actually a very busy day at both branches, but particularly, at Lansingburg, a lot of people with families do come out, Saturday morning, early afternoon. My understanding is that by end of the day on Saturday, it is sort of a ghost town because people are not really showing up at 3-4 p.m. as much.
And I'm gonna note that we had a sexual harassment incident involving a staff member at Lansingburg this past week. It was bad. And you had someone that had to get berated by a member of the public at Lansingburg. Is there someone that's trying to come in? Could you do that? Thank you. Thank you. Do we know who they are? You don't have to know. Okay, thank you. All right, we do have a member of the public joining. All right, we're discussing summer Saturdays. So when it comes to Lansingburg, you don't have enough staff there right now. If someone is having a, what's the word I'm looking for, an incident with a patron, and you have another employee on desk, but that employee has to take a break, you now have one person on desk. If that person has an incident that leaves them in a state that I would not want someone to continue working, you now have to close the branch, or that person, as they did, continues to work their job, having just been traumatized by a member of the public. And that's what happened this past week. So I hear what you're saying, but when we're looking at safe staffing levels, this is what we're talking about. There has to be the ability to have overlap or to call someone in. We don't have that. And we might have given people better salaries. We might have increased their health insurance to 75%, which is still not good, especially when you consider the increases in their insurance premiums. And we might have given them one extra holiday, but that does not make up for the quality of life and the safety and the conditions that they're being asked to work in. And we haven't increased staffing levels to a point to meet the minimum safety requirements that the union is asking for, which is why you have them forming a union. So the public may feel like, oh, well, we increased this amount, but that doesn't solve for chronic understaffing and funding, which we're going to have to get incredibly realistic about, because I'm currently worried, as Tim was, that it is not just about staffing. You have a building that is absolutely falling apart, that is infested, that is toxic. We cannot have anyone go up into that attic. The basement is a nightmare. And the facility itself is at risk long-term. And I don't see how, if we even wanted to get rid of the building, we could, because I don't know who would buy it.
Can I ask, I know that closing Lansingburg on Saturdays is the last resort and something that we probably don't even really want to discuss.
Yeah.
But just to sort of play devil's advocate a little bit, I don't know about the devil's advocate, but do we know, like, do we feel confident that keeping Lansingburg open on Saturdays, that we still won't have all the issues that we're having with the potential of,
We're still gonna have them,
so we're still gonna have them, whether we're open a full day or a half day?
because it has to do with the amount of people that are just on, like, there. So you might have one supervisor, 2 people, depends on what's going on. You also only have one community engagement specialist. So Ian can be, at Maine, but Ian can't be at both Maine and Lansingburg all hours for the amount of time that you're open. He can't cover 110 hours in a week, right? Is it 110 across 2 buildings? And it's 55 unique. I don't know how it overlaps. The request, one of the biggest requests for the budget for the new year has been, we need another community engagement specialist. Like Ian's phenomenal, but Ian can't be in both places. So how do we get more of that? The second request, we have a request for a youth services worker because we only have 3 people right now in that department.
2 buildings.
3, 4. And there's actually 3 buildings because there's the YWCA, and that's before you look at outreach to schools. So they are not getting the coverage. And the main thing is because it's a youth location, you have to have someone on desk at all times. So you're getting people pulled off of the circ desk to cover for youth when they go on break. Otherwise, they can't do that. So we need a community engagement specialist, we need a youth person, we need another library assistant, we need an assistant director, you need HR support and admin support, which is going to get into fiscal policy and audit findings. We are severely understaffed.
So Marie, because you started off this conversation, I feel like I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like last time when Lori presented this and we first heard this, you had a comment about, I think Anthony had brought up that it was cost neutral about the half days, but then there was clarification that it may not be service neutral. And
Right.
is that still what you're mostly focused on and what you brought up before, is that we're not providing the services that we would be on a full day? I'm just trying to,
Correct, and that it would seem like, considering everything we heard, that it wouldn't be much of a reach to have at least Maine open for the full day.
so that's what you're proposing, is to have Maine
Maine open
Maine open
for the full
for a
day.
full day and then Lansingburg half day?
I'm uncomfortable because I don't know Lansingburg well enough and I apologize for that. I'm a board member. I should. I'm just not that familiar with the hours and kind of the changes that they've gone through with being closed and different days.
This week, oh, I'm sorry.
I did want to say that, yes, there are other libraries who may well pay their staff for a full day working part of the day, but they're not libraries that are unable to afford even evening hours. They're better staffed already. And they must have better budgets than we have
That's an
they're able
assumption. I don't think that's accurate, but okay.
that they have evening hours. I checked the 2 libraries that were mentioned. They have evening hours during the week.
I'm sorry, can you explain the point?
So, I mean, we're saying that we can't afford evening hours.
Yeah.
And somebody was saying, well, these other libraries are able to, they do pay for a full day, even though the staff isn't working a full day. And it may be a Sunday rather than Saturday that they're referring to. But they also still provide evening hours, the service at those libraries. They're not in the same situation that we are as far as what we're able to provide to our patrons.
We do have evening hours. We don't have them at both locations, but we
Right.
do have evening hours.
we don't have any at Maine.
Maine, but that's also because we found that you don't have the amount of usage. People want evening hours, but that's not the same degree of usage. And more incidents happen in the evenings. And until we can create a safer working condition with more staff at those hours, which now, so there's less people in the building in the evenings, and we need more staff to cover it to make it a safe environment. So the math wasn't mathing.
And
Yeah.
my understanding is that in the evening, the staff were less comfortable because there weren't the supervisors around that are during the day. And I think when I was originally hearing about this, which was before you were on the board, that someone had said, maybe it was the director, that there were actually more incidents during the day. And so the question was, well, why are staff more uncomfortable at night? And that that was posed as the reason, is because there were fewer supervisory staff around for support than existed during the day.
Again, I hear that. I don't think it's accurate because we have actual data on that now, but yeah, we can pull that.
Yeah, that would be good because,
Yeah.
you know, I know that because you're filling in for director functions, you have access to a lot of information that we don't.
That's what, well, Tim had started that project with Ian when the public decided to fund a community engagement specialist and we hired him. So now you have a person that's able to log those incidents and you have a way to collect them. And he's gone back in time and done a multi-year data pull too. So currently what we're working on is how to get that incident form to a place that it can create a dashboard that we can look at. So that we can just pull it up and literally see what happened year over year, month over month, different hours. So we can absolutely pull that. Yeah, go for it.
If I can just ask, yeah, a point of clarification on the current motion. This motion is just to approve the change in the summer hours for Lansingburg, right? Because
Right.
Maine has always been operating under these summer hours. So
Yes.
would normally,
That's
and
just-
it's not approving any of the suggested changes that we discussed with Lori at the last board meeting.
No,
Such as paying staff for all hours just for working part-time or hiring part-time staff that we discussed. None of that is currently being proposed. And we can,
temporary worker too.
right, this is only discussing the hours change.
Right.
So none of those other proposals are on the table.
But also for Maine, not just for Lincoln.
Well, those are currently the summer hours.
That's always been, yeah.
That's what has been done in
Right.
the past as long as I can
So the
remember.
proposed motion is to change the summer hours for Lansingburg, which are currently a full day to a part-day. That's the only,
But it also specifies Maine.
those are the current hours for Maine.
I understand that, but.
But it says
So-
it's continuing its
Yeah,
existing
if
summer.
the motion,
schedule.
if we vote, if we take no action on the motion, those will still be the summer hours we need in place. That's my point. The only thing we are currently discussing is whether to change them for this.
Also, we do not have AC right now. So can you, I think there's one more person that needs to be. Or is that us?
No,
Just
Us.
kidding, that's us. Thank you. I do want to mention, I know you said, well, now we have AC and it's gonna be cooler. We don't have AC yet. So until we can get that chiller tested, we do not have that. They were supposed to come this week. We just got an email from DeJezer saying, I know, they previously told us that they would come out after the first payment and they were happy to do that. Nicole mentioned it. Most recent email, I believe from Austin said, we expect full payment before we come and test the chiller. So they want everything. There's a financial question there. What can we do and when can we do it by? Because they are not going to start that chiller up until then. So we'll have to have that conversation. It's about to get really hot. All right. Other questions?
I guess one more point of clarification. We do have our regular board meeting next Tuesday.
Yep.
So do we have any update on, I think we were waiting on some information from Lori about because I know she had sent around something on the staff and proposals, but it wasn't really, we wanted more detail. I was just curious if we have anything further.
Yeah, she sent that to me, send Lori's email to board. I think she sent it to me and said, can you take a look at this and make sure it makes sense? So let me review that and send it to you
Yeah.
guys. Email to board for proposals.
Yeah, I know that's not on the agenda, so that's fine. I just was curious if there's a pressure for us to approve this now, or, I mean, we could also table it towards next week if we're gonna be considering that proposal as well. To make
and
this-
it might be, I agree. And it might be nice to be able to spend a little more time with it because I'm looking and outside of the sheet she gave us, there's nothing digitally that I can find and I don't have that sheet that I took home with me. So I think that might be helpful, because as we were talking, I wanted to pull it up and I couldn't find it, so I don't think it was ever sent digitally.
Oh, physical, okay, yeah, we'll get.
So all of that would be really helpful. Is there a reason why,
in
like,
board packet,
is there, it's what?
let's put it in the board packet. for-
Yeah, and it should be up there anyway. Is there a reason, is there any reason why we need to do this tonight is the question I have.
Yeah, the staff was communicated to that the board was leaning in this direction and they wanted to confirm their schedules.
It was something that Lori mentioned wanting an answer by the beginning of May, so.
Yep.
Would it, I'm just gonna throw this out there, because it's been, or because it would be a new thing for Lansingburg. There's 15, so this May 30th through September 5th would be 15 Saturdays. Would it overcomplicate it? I imagine Patrick would have to figure out some way to put this on the website. Cause I think he deals with the website, right?
Yeah, what do you mean?
In terms of hours, if we did every other Saturday, half day, is that overcomplicating it? Okay,
I think so too.
Not to say anything.
it's fine. I just wanted to, it was on my mind, so I was like, I have to say it.
No, this is the discussion portion, so it's not like
Let me-
it's a, yeah.
And clarify what's gonna have to happen. So it's, not just the website, it's also gonna be the Google My Business accounts for both locations. And then it's also gonna have to be the phone recordings for both locations, which take painstaking amount of time because they have to have scripts that they then record, re-upload. They have to create a certain file type. I think they're doing it in Canva, then they have to get it into the system, upload that. So they would have to do that either every other week, or they would have to list the whole thing out in the script for someone. And then they would have to manage the actual schedule, which is going to be in Sling for every single person. And then they would have the individual department schedules that they would have to roll out. And then you're gonna have Lindsay going, what am I doing with our time cards and ADP? So it's gonna be, you might have some very unhappy employees.
Some pushback.
And besides, their schedule is so different according to the weekdays as it is.
Mhm.
The, you know, the 10 to 4, the 12 to 8, that's just gonna be mind-boggling for people.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think it's logistically complicated.
I'm just thinking about Marie's concern.
And I, as I said a number of times, I can't really speak to Lansingburg, but downtown is busy on Saturdays during the summer. There's, there are a lot of people around.
I mean, I can speak to Lansingburg insofar as if summer programming is planned, people will show up, especially for that 9 to 1. It is the later afternoon that it drops off for families specifically, which I know is like a main target audience for summertime. So that's just true. So I do think from like perspective of summer reading and the summer reading program, especially for youth, being able to be as equitable between those two locations is really a good thing. And if we're just talking optics, I think it's an especially good thing to do as we gear up for another budget. So that's my perspective, especially when we talk about Lansingburg. So that's where I'm at.
And it's nice if you're gonna close one branch that the other stays open. Because it's, someone can still go to the other branch probably fairly easily, much more easily than having to figure out how to get to Staples to make copies or printouts or whatever.
So do you want to keep Lansingburg open late on Saturday?
Well, no, I think that the argument was the reverse, that
That's
Lansing,
not a proposal. I hear you.
that Lansingburg was quiet on Saturday afternoons.
Okay, but sorry, are you proposing, I just want to confirm, are you?
Am I not correct? We're saying they're the same hours.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I'm not. Like, I'm saying that it makes sense for a Saturday, that if you have one that is 9 to 1, the other 9 to 1 is also, it's fine. I'm saying my issue where I would take issue is not including Lansingburg at all. and assuming everyone come downtown. Like that, I think is a bad move.
You mean not having them open at all during,
Correct.
on a Saturday, which is not what I was saying, but. I think anytime you can have at least one branch open when the other's closed, it's a good thing. And, you know, that occurs with evening hours up at Lansingburg. Or
Right.
that they, you know. And I know when I discussed evening hours at Maine, it was, gee, can't we even just do the other 2 nights of the week? Ones where, you know, Lansingburg isn't open. When we've had discussions in the past.
Okay, so you're proposing that. They're proposing that we go to the standard summer hours. How about this? There's a lot to consider. You're putting a 5th proposal on the table. They gave us 4 proposals last time. Three proposals. This is now a 4th option that you want staff to consider, right?
Want the board to consider, yeah,
We don't, but they're gonna have to execute it, so
right.
we're not going to tell them what to do. Are we putting a motion forward for what the hours are gonna be for the staff? Without a director?
It looks like it.
How? How are you doing that? How are you going to propose something that nobody has supported?
I'm looking at this and that's what it seems to be doing. It's indicating hours.
But that's from their proposal, right?
Right.
I think the question is, are you making a proposal you'd like them to consider? But you're saying you want the board to consider it. And what Rhea is saying is, we would like not to just go around the staff. I mean, again, it would be them who's actually has to do it. So we would want to know what they think about that proposal, while then we get it back to then consider it for an actual vote.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
you can't
Like,
set.
she doesn't, we're not trying to bypass staff in any of this. Yes, we are the final decision makers, but we want them to be able to provide both feedback and context that we don't have, because I don't work here, but they do.
And in the past, I've found the staff to be quite creative in trying to provide services for the patrons.
Yes. But I think one of the things I want to implore us to consider, to continue to keep considering, is that it makes me nervous when we talk about the creative ways in which they've made X, Y, or Z work.
Yep.
To their detriment.
Right.
Whether it's being in unsafe environments, whether it's working off the clock. When we talk about right sizing this library, we are right sizing staff. There is no library without the staff. And so when I think about these things, I'm like, you know, whether it's the 9% of the health insurance or any of those things, in my mind, those are wins, but they're wins because we are finally doing right by them, not because anyone was doing right by them for decades. And so in my mind, this is a work of repair and catching up, not one of now you guys have perks. Like, that's not how I look at it at all.
But I'm sorry, you need to go.
No, that's just saying that's not how I look at it. And if there are ways in which we can provide ease so that we keep really wonderful people and provide ourselves the runway to build out a healthier library, then I am 100% down for that. And I am 100% as a member of this board, happy to be the person who goes out in public and takes whatever heat I need to take from taxpayers and explaining to them that there was chronic decades of divestment in this library. And now we are doing the right thing. And I'm happy to do that.
Agreed.
And we've been saying that.
I'd like to continue to perform that for them though.
And this seems in an area that we can say, hey, you know, we can't do what you may have felt that we said we would do, but with little extra cost, you know, we can add this service. We can, you know, do this thing that we haven't done in the past.
You are asking them to be creative. They proposed closing Lansingburg, period, on a Saturday. And since then, they've come up with 3 different proposals for us. So now we're asking them to come up with a 4th, and we're also gonna pull a bunch of data and then decide on it next week. Is that what we're doing? I wanna make sure that I understand.
Can I read, I know it's not publicized yet, but the draft of the meeting minutes from last board meeting specifically on this topic.
Yeah, please.
Because it's leading up to a question I have.
Yeah.
Okay, this was the third proposal given that night. Eliminate the need for staff to make up operational changes. The current system of summer Saturdays occurs Memorial Day through Labor Day, during which hours are shortened from 9 a.m. to 1:00 p.m. This practice has been done for years. The staff currently have to make up the remaining 3 hours not worked on those Saturdays. Staff can either use their earned PTO and/or sick time or come in early/leave late during the week, enough times to make up the 3 hours. Lori asked that the board consider paying staff for a full day on those summer Saturdays so that an appropriate number of people can be scheduled. This option alone would be cost neutral, but not necessarily neutral in regard to hours services are provided. So my question is kind of piggybacking off of what Anthony said in terms of it's not necessarily part of the motion in terms of the language that's proposed here with the financial implication. I know it's cost neutral, but I guess my question is if we approve the Lansingburg shorter hours, are we in effect saying we're going to pay the full day? Because if we say, okay, we're going to shorten the hours for summer Saturdays from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, but we're going to pay, or we're going to do that, then wait until maybe the board meeting to actually approve the financial full day payment. If we, for some reason, look at the finances and say, well, I guess it would be cost neutral.
Yeah, and I don't think the board would be approving the finances.
Okay,
Because
so we wouldn't be saying you're gonna get paid for a full day?
I don't think we would have ever done that because that's not within our authority. That was for the director to set in terms of salaries and compensation for staff. We approve the salary line item, but unless we're approving an additional expense, there is nothing else to approve. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's effectively a policy, so we'd be confirming that as a policy for
Okay.
essentially under our salary plan, that people who work a Saturday where it's the 4 hour Saturday hours get paid for a full day.
If that's the case, then it needs to be in union negotiation. Because we're not setting pay policies right now. Every single one of those is subject to negotiation.
And Evelyn, did you say that Lansingburg has been open all day Saturdays during the summer?
I don't think it closes that one, that people go over there on Saturdays.
So that is,
Pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's been well,
Just for summer, is that the question? I'm sorry.
in summers, yeah.
Oh, just for summer.
I'm not, I think they have different hours, so because we're open all day, not
Yep.
summer here,
Mhm,
so it doesn't matter as much, but I'm pretty sure they've had things in the afternoon.
so that is a change then from what has occurred in the past.
We have a comment from the public.
But
That's a comment? Yes, that was the case, and she said
last year, thank you, Becca.
Yeah, thinking.
So maybe this year it could be shifted and downtown could stay open and Lansingburg had,
You're gonna have a revolt if you try to keep downtown open. That is not a proposal that they gave. It is not what we have done. You're gonna have a department head like walk out for at least one or two folks. So I hear what you're saying, but it's gonna be ugly. So,
we're still understaffed. If we're still understaffed, it's.
Mhm.
Which is why we're, discussing having them have shorter hours over there. Otherwise, it would be a moot point and we wouldn't worry about it. It doesn't switch depending on which foot you're putting on those extra hours.
And I
There's still
do
a
really
need
think, I
for
mean,
it.
we've been asking this for a long time and I realize it's so, everything has just been like getting through the day for a lot of folks. I don't mean to whatever, this is a director issue generally, but really knowing what Lori indicated, during her proposal that she had that data about how many people are walking in and walking out. Like I never seen it, been talked to me for a year and a half about it, but I've never seen it and I want to see it. And I think that will help inform some of these
help make these
conversations.
decisions.
Yeah.
it's manual. like I hear what you guys are saying, it's manual, it's sitting on sheets, so they need time, they need someone to sit down and like to document all of that. And that's gonna be, so I would love the data too.
Or we can just
I don't
like
know who's gonna make
snippet
it.
of the summer or something to give us an idea.
How do we get it? How do they? We need to find a way for them to make that happen to us. I don't know how we get that from them.
Well, I think, I mean, depending on what this is gonna look like if we're tabling, I don't think there's anything wrong with us making a few small requests to just say like, can we get a little more information on this? Even if you're doing it as best you can in like the most anecdotal way, not like I need a perfect spreadsheet that like, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for just a smidge more detail to like, make sure everyone feels confident about that.
To help make good decisions.
Yes.
Well, what I need to know is if they just do a number of people at facilities or number of people per hour. Do you know the answer to that? And can we recognize Ian?
Yes, happy Monday. I was just wondering, I locked everybody else out.
Oh,
Do
you're
you need
checking.
to stick around here?
No, you're good. Have a good evening. We got it. And the bell, the sidewalk's open.
Yeah, that one's open
Yeah.
and nothing's alarmed, so. Perfect.
If anyone comes in, we'll get them. Thank you so much. Have a good
Have
night.
a good night.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, he was gonna tell me the answer. All right. Yeah, what were you gonna say something?
I was,
Sorry.
I lost it, but, oh, one other question that I had is, when first proposing something, is, are we concerned at all about the impact that we're gonna have on reaching our minimum operating hours? Because I know we were very close to that. That was largely because of closures at Maine.
There's a summer exception
Yes,
Oh,
because this is standard enough across libraries that there's a summer.
but it's a
exception.
really good question.
Yeah. So that was my number one concern.
Well, particularly because we're so close to the minimum now.
yeah, apparently it doesn't count for the summer, so.
It doesn't. Yeah, if I didn't understand how it was even possible. All right. I also want to point out just if you're proposing we don't close Lansingburg for that time, I just want to confirm, what's your proposal?
Keeping Maine open for the full or close to the full day on Saturday.
So 10 to 5, 9 to 5.
What if, I'd be happy with 10 to 5, 9,
And what's
whatever. I
happening at
don't.
Lansing?
Or,
What happens at Lansingburg then?
I guess half a day in Lansingburg. I don't know what's, I can't speak to
Staffing, that's not, yeah, okay.
the staffing there.
We need to, I mean, one of the other suggestions that she had made was the temporary staff. Is that part of this conversation? Should it be?
Mhm.
You said not on your end?
No, I said that was my idea.
Well, and she said it had been approved, right?
No, we haven't approved it.
No,
And
that,
again, but
No.
this is the other piece that I'd like an update or something about whether or not like that has gone to the union because it is temporary seasonal people. So it has a financial impact. While I know we did the math and it wasn't anything crazy. But it also is a one of job duties and functions and all of that, and I don't know how it'll look and.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to call me back about some stuff.
I mean, it
I
kind of,
do, I'll ask.
it kind of seems like even though we're looking for extra information and the concern that you have, I find to be valid. It just seems like at the end of the day, it's always gonna come down to the safety of the staff. So,
And it's also, it's not just that, like, it's keeping the building operational. Because people go, hey, it's a beautiful Saturday and it's a holiday and everyone else I know is out and, or they're sick, or they have travel, or they didn't have the PTO because we haven't negotiated new PTO with the union yet. Then you do get people that call out or something happens and now you're shutting the building down. So that's what's happening, is
Right.
that we're gonna be understaffed and we're gonna end up shutting the buildings down.
But this,
Yeah.
but the staff is showing up for half a day anyway, or,
That's the point, is that
Or-
we're trying
or-
to be incentivized to show up by getting paid for it.
right, but if,
And also making that piece more manageable.
Yeah.
So that you would reduce the likelihood of those shutdowns.
Yes.
Whereas the thing we got beat over the head last year for, right, was how many times we had to shut down.
down,
And so if you reduce that by reducing this piece ahead of all of it, that should help at least from that perspective, and people can count on it, number one. And then number two, what's the other part? Everyone kind of has it already set, you know what I mean? That's why I was like, when I heard the every other, I was like, oh, I don't remember how to do that.
Take it back.
But no, it's okay, but yeah, you know, and so I don't know, it just, this. Again, I just keep thinking about ways to continue to have services. Assume much of what happens for summer reading and all the things that happen, and ease the burden that the staff are feeling.
And
And again, we continue to do this with a director on leave, so.
And I would do this also, I would note the environmental impact. The building does not have air conditioning. 60% of the building has air conditioning, 40% does not. That 40% is going to affect the main programming room with the art gallery, and it's going to affect most of the staff offices. And we currently have concerns about the air conditioning. We're trying to figure out how to swap those out, make sure that the space is safe, that we don't have any mold contamination. But that's going to be work that has to be done quickly to try to make staff spaces comfortable enough that you don't have a closure because it's 85 degrees in the staff office, even though the AC, maybe hopefully by then, is working on another hot day. Yeah.
we don't know for sure what will happen. How effective you said 60%? That's air
60%
will
is
be. We don't know.
basement is not in those offices and these other spaces.
The basement
and that's the
isn't-
gallery.
isn't, there's nothing in the basement?
Not where most of the staff is, no. Yeah, I'm looking, yeah, no. That's why we need to come up with another solution. They don't have AC down there. And that's where, I mean, arguably the basement stays a little cooler, but you have other staff offices as well that don't have air conditioning. So the children's room does not. They do have a wall unit, but we're talking about swapping that out. Staff offices do not over here for department heads. This room does not. You also have, I don't know if the actual archives are.
I don't think so. They may have dehumidifiers, but
They have a dehumidifier. That's its own kind of separate thing too. But we don't know what that's gonna be like, and I know that there were concerns that it was gonna get really hot, and you're still gonna have staff in an uncomfortable environment. So I do think that you can solve that with wall units, floor lit units, other things. But we need to come up with an actual cooling solution and deploy that everywhere and make sure that it's working. So I just want to pull that consideration up. All right, do we want to collect information? We need to look, I need to provide the documentation that Lori had edited after our meeting. We want to look at incident data. We want to look at potentially a Saturday pay policy and negotiating that with the union sooner rather than later. We want to look at data for people that come in the door at Schroll and Main. We want to look at asking the union about a temporary worker. And we would have to also ask civil service, unless it's contract, but that's odd. So I think you really are going to classify it. And civil service. And you want me to propose to the department heads, which the department head meeting tomorrow morning, this fourth proposal, right?
Is there any information that can be thought of at this point that would deter a decision in favor of what's being proposed on the agenda?
Not for me, not for this, but that's just.
Because honestly, I want the information too. I don't think it's gonna sway how I feel at the moment. I'm just wondering,
With
maybe,
proving,
yes.
from your end of
Yeah.
things.
You're saying should we go to vote?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's the same for me.
Are you saying, do you want to vote now or
I'd like to vote now, but if there are concerns that still need to be addressed by tabling, I'm okay with that too. So,
You haven't been in?
I'm kind of with these two that it's unlikely the decision will be changed because we'll still have the same problems of being understaffed. We won't know even by next week if we can get those temporary workers.
Right.
And then we're gonna just delay everything for the staff to start doing their planning.
There you go.
I mean, I guess I would be interested to have the information, I mean, only because there might be concerns if we just to go ahead and approve the change hours if that were the action that we took without knowing exactly how we're going to handle all those concerns. But if, I mean, it would depend on which way the vote went. If ultimately the board was not to approve the change in hours anyway, then it's sort of a moot point.
can I ask, what do you mean by how we're gonna handle the concerns?
So if we voted to approve the change in hours, but we didn't know, for example, if we were going to have the temporary staff or if we were going to offer staff the full pay or anything like that, then we could wind up in a situation where we have now the part-time summer hours at both Maine and Lansingburg, just double our problem where you have staff who don't particularly want to come in on a summer Saturday just for 4 hours and then have to figure out how to get the rest of their hours. And so you have double the problem of staffing both branches only for 4 hours. Right, because that's my understanding of Lori's discussion is that staff don't particularly want to come in just for 4 hours and then still have to, make up that time some other way.
But would they be incentivized to do so with the summer hours implemented?
Well, at least you're getting paid for a full 7 hours just for coming in.
Yeah,
And yeah, we don't know if that will work, but my point is that if we approve the change without knowing how we're going to handle that problem, then we've just set ourselves up to double that problem without necessarily knowing what the solution is. So like you were saying, doesn't imply that we're doing the full payment. I don't think it does, but it does sort of tie our hands to say, well, now we need some solution. We were going to need a solution for Maine anyway, right? But now we're going to need it for Lansingburg as well. And we don't even know necessarily if any of the solutions are going to work.
And I know it was not an established past practice that the managers the heads, department heads, were working Saturdays, and that was part of her proposals to ensure that they are doing that. But again, what is the established past practice of like how is and has management doled out who works which Saturdays when, and is it voluntary or is it something that's part of the schedule, which, management has a right to set. But those are the other pieces there.
It's been worked out. It's getting implemented, I think, next week. I could be wrong on the actual date of the rollout. But they are just doing, from my understanding, kind of a switch off. They've scheduled it for themselves, so it's happening. There will be a supervisor every Saturday.
it seems like, because based on Lori having made the proposal for all of this, I want to believe and trust that she has awareness about what the implications will be if we were to move forward with this and wouldn't propose it, if there was a high risk that there would be a large amount of problems as a result, but.
And was there staff feedback? Because we've only heard from Lori and then Kaylee. Those are department heads, right? So,
That's what's informing this proposal.
but were staff asked about it or about
Yes.
not just department? They're saying that each.
The recommendations are coming from staff that are concerned about the schedule, that are concerned about safety, that are concerned that supervisors are not there on a Saturday. So this is all meant to address those concerns. Yes. And that's been very much, I'll just say, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. There's too many individual departments and department heads, and like some department heads that don't have staff, some that do, some that are larger. Communication methods vary. I don't, and I can't speak to how each person was communicated to or when, but I know that these proposals directly come from the concerns of staff. That's what we're addressing and why. And I can tell you that because department heads weren't always happy with these proposals. So you have department heads who are adjusting how they handle their personal schedules or other things, and they may not be happy with the proposal as it stands, but they're doing what they know needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is why I'm saying if you were to go back to non-summer Saturdays at Maine, I know of one department head who would not be happy at least. That doesn't mean that we don't go there, but right, everyone has a different opinion or a motivation or a reason for something.
And how many department heads are there?
So 6, you got Carrie, Lindsay, Carol, Lori, Kaylee, Patrick, 6. Yeah. Which I can say a different way. Public information, collections,
Yeah.
adult services, youth, circulation, business manager. Okay. I almost know everybody's names. We'll see. All
So
right,
we've been in discussion for about an hour now, over an hour.
what's next?
Where are we? Are we tabling or there's a motion, there's technically a
There is
motion on the
motion
floor?
and we have a second. Do you want to, are you retracting your second?
No,
No, okay, so do you want to continue? So we've had discussion. All
Should
in,
we do a roll? I mean, there's
Yeah.
only, what, 6 of us, 7?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say all in favor?
I,
Abstaining or no?
No.
No, okay. All right, and then we, no less, so. Yes. MG, no. And Lewis, absent, thank you, I'm like, what's the word for it? That said, can we still have things we need to determine, so those are all gonna come forward to the board meeting, because there's more that we're gonna have to cover, especially, for staffing and other. Okay. Thank you.
I know you've been making notes of things that we need. I think Lori had also said that she would provide information on the printer. The on-demand, on-demand printer by,
yeah,
or self-printing. So just, I know it's not pertinent to this, but
Self-renting proposal. Ask Lori. All right, sorry, my,
thank you.
our printer broke at CERC today. It's a whole separate issue, because they gave the circulation printer to the reference desk because that wasn't working, which was fine until the new, well, not new, until the printer at CERC stopped working and not playing well with Sierra today. So separate
So-
issue.
You couldn't get Sean to walk by?
No, Sean was dealing with it all day. He was sitting there diligently. I said, "How you doing?" He went, "Ugh." So he was in it. All right. We keep going. Next, subject, troll, roof, next steps, quotes. We don't really have them. So, what is the next step? I just want to make sure that we're making progress, and you'd reached out to Lisa.
yeah, so as we discussed at the facilities meeting, we're asking TAP, or we have asked TAP if they will help us publish this for bidding. So I sent Lisa the proposal that had been used to get the actual funds, actually it was from the end of 2024, if I remember correctly, but
And had TAP been involved in that proposal?
no, this was just based on a quote from a roofer. And I know Tim had talked about reaching out to Titan, which is a different roofing company. But Lisa's working on drafting it up for the purposes of soliciting bids. And then, we may well then have to actually reach out to specific contractors to actually let them know that once the bidding is open, so that they know that it actually is open and can prepare a bid.
You know the time frame? I do not. Okay. I'm curious what's reasonable because we do, Lewis and I did start an Asana board and he does have that spreadsheet. And some of these things are going to require a lot more detail in them.
Yeah.
That's one. I think I already mentioned this, pest control cannot seal the roof at Lansingburg because it has so many holes and gaps that it is unsealable. They said you need a new roof. So the only recommendation is that both Thomas and Northeast Pest suggested, they have different strategies. Northeast Pest is more expensive and theirs is I don't know, we can cover this maybe later. I think we need to make a choice on who we're going with, but it needs to be a pretty aggressive trap and kill method because of the amount of animals.
First, we need to seal the roof.
Yeah, he's like, there's just full rain pouring in. We've got live pigeons, dead pigeons, bat guano, which makes it toxic. And you have to do it, get that out. Mice, dead mice, live mice, mice on traps that are slowly getting carried out with other mice and staff members that are on the verge of tears having mouse funerals because one mouse is dead on the trap and all the other mice are coming to his rescue.
Oh, boy.
So, all right.
Maybe they're coming to eat him.
No, they were coming to comfort him with their little hands and trying to take him away, as it was described to me. It was traumatizing. All right, let's keep going. Okay,
So that's a priority.
yeah,
Um,
thank you for moving.
also important because the roofers get busy during the summer. And also it needs to be done before work on the children's room.
Yeah.
Can be done.
Okay, interim director hiring process. So, we did just like a working group meeting last week and said, okay, what's the approach? Where do we go? What do we do? So I think what we need to talk about now is our approach to that. So, we have thankfully, I think 7 candidates, if I'm accurate, 8.
We got another one today.
A couple more came in, yeah, since we talked.
And I feel like I've gone from, oh no, we don't have enough, this is gonna be a hard decision or this is gonna be, right, like, where can we go with the decision to, ooh, we have enough that it will actually be a hard decision out of the candidates. So that's really exciting. So I just want to say, yay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
encouraging, for sure.
Yes.
And I know, Ashley and Samantha, you did a lot of work to try to push it and get it out there to people. So thank you. And everybody else that's shared it. I do think that Times Union article didn't harm from a reputation perspective. I don't know, but it felt like it was at the end, just kind of they're looking. And I don't know if that helped get more leads in or not.
It's interesting because I've seen ads for the Times Union and it's always bringing up the interim director article.
Weird. That's probably retargeting.
You think that's for me?
Yeah, it's retargeting.
Yeah, yes, because I've seen it too, and it's on a specific profile, which is the Instagram I have for when I ran. So, and it's all library
Yeah.
related. So yes, congratulations.
It knows what you like. Okay, so with that interim director process, Samantha, you set up folders. We've got everyone's information going into there. Everybody has been able to see. I'm responding to them to let them know that we'll set a screening call up if we're moving forward, which needs to be based on whether someone is qualified, right? And do they meet those qualifications? There's someone I'm excited about who may not meet those minimum qualifications. So it's sad.
There's an interesting question. There might be 2 interesting questions that have come up about some of these candidates. I don't remember offhand what the second one is. But so for one of them, who might be, oh no, this is a different one. So for one of them, the question was, do they have ALA accredited master's degree, MLIS or whatever? And this person does or did, because the school that they got the master's from was accredited,
Oh, not.
but is not anymore accredited. So does that meet the minimum right? Like, does that meet the minimum qualifications? I don't know.
And that'll happen more and more.
I do want to point out that we posted this, it's not a civil service position, it's a contract, which does mean that we can alter the qualifications if we feel that it's merited. So we don't have to take it to that level.
It was just something interesting that came up. I was like, oh, that's.
I would
So it's really a good system question as folks just hire generally.
Yeah.
If the accreditation was in place when they got their degree, then the accreditation still holds, even though.
Yeah,
things
I
have
was
changed.
wondering if it was retroactive or
No.
grandfathered in some way.
No, if you get it during that time period, it is.
Yeah, I think
Still
the
valid.
school was accredited in 2005, if I remember correctly, and then lost its accreditation in like 2015, something like that. I don't know. It was.
So are you the one who found that out, that they were no longer accredited?
Well, I was looking through all their materials to like work through the sheets.
Mm.
And I was looking at the schools just to make sure they can say that they have a master's degree from the school, but is it ALA accredited? So I was looking that up over the weekend, and for one of them, that information came up and I was like, oh.
If you would like to pursue that, I'd be curious.
Yeah.
Because we are currently dealing with, I'll say internally, I'm working with department heads on getting an actual hiring checklist and process in place with an onboarding checklist as well, because that does not exist. And it's proving to be a problem when we go to make an offer letter to the head of circulation and I say, okay, have you ever done this before? No. Okay, let's call them. Okay. What are we gonna offer them from a salary perspective? Oh, I didn't think about that ahead of time. Okay, do we have an offer letter? Oh, no, we don't. All right, let's pause. We're not gonna send anything out to anybody until we're prepared. And to a certain extent, that's because the director would have handled that previously. But also it doesn't have to be the director. This is a situation where the business manager should be informed. There should be steps we're following. HR should inform it. Legal should know, like we should be following the steps from a legal perspective too, and we're just not in compliance with certain things. So we need to do this for us. We need to be very buttoned up with our process, how we're hiring, how we're selecting people, and then they need it as well. And this is just a larger issue. They don't have systems. They don't have folder structure. This doesn't exist right now. So there's a lot that has to be created. Thank you for what you've created for us. That really helps. The qualification sheet helps. The screening criteria and interview questions, the goal of that is that we just have standardized questions that we ask every single person. We pull those answers back. It should be a 30-minute short call. And our recommendation is that 2 people from the hiring committee at a minimum are on each of those calls. We bring the questions back to the full board. We review them based off of that and decide who we're going to move forward with for an actual full board interview. Does that make sense?
And last time we did it as like a calendar sheet, so it was shared with everyone, and then you would see when like interviews were to take place, and you'd be like, oh, I can get in with Mike at, Tuesday, and you put yourself in there, so we have at least 2 people for every interview, and we did it for the trustee vacancy, and I think it worked really well, pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
So,
So will it be open to the full board like it was?
exactly, yes,
The
exactly.
interview would.
Yes, not the screening,
Right.
but we're just screening for the very basics, like we said, are they just qualified, or,
When could they start? Are you comfortable with the range, the dollar amount, right? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember, were the trustee interviews, were they videoed? Were they recorded?
I mean, no, not recorded.
I think what the director interviews were recorded, weren't they?
Yes, yes, they were
So
going
that
to
if
the
you-
cloud, but we can't get them anymore. That's the
But,
problem.
but everybody could view them.
Yes,
Oh, right, so you mean from an internal perspective, not an external
Right,
one?
it's
I
like, I think
don't-
we're publishing them.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that's something we could do, that anyone could review it, because I will say, I do recall watching some of them when we first came on, just so that because we were catching
Yeah.
up to work that had already started with
So you had
the
access.
original director,
You were
so that's a
on
good
both
point,
of
I
them.
think we should do that.
access, because not everybody could be in on the Zoomed interview.
Correct.
So, but everyone was very curious and wanted to see.
Okay.
So everyone had access to the cloud.
And I
So
think
that time.
everybody rated the interviews.
Mhm.
There will be,
We were rating, we had the rubric even before we decided to give out the interviews. I still have copies of the rubric.
so the hiring committee would like to make a rubric of what that's going to look like. And it would be ideally, like skill-based, which is kind of comparable, like what you did for the qualifications, but really built out for the full job description. And then we would have, like the trustee, basically the 4 ratings, which just becomes a numeric tally at the end. And then you just put them in descending order.
So I know I had sent Ashley and you, Rhea, a copy of the language from the board meeting. I just wanted to read it again, because I was thinking about this yesterday. So the language is, this is from the March 25th special board meeting. RD moved to authorize 3 designated board members, RDAS and SH, to engage in a search for an interim or assistant director to bring back to the board as a recommendation for short-term employment or contract position. SH seconded, motion passed unanimously. So my thought on that when I was thinking about it was it kind of gives and I might be saying something that you've already said, but it gives the search committee almost like carte blanche authority to just move through the process until the point where there is a recommendation to the board of who the candidate is we want to move forward with. So to me, that almost means that the hiring committee just moved forward, creating all the things we're creating for the documentation purposes, notifying the board every time someone's scheduled for an interview, there's notes put in, et cetera, et cetera. So the full board is continuously aware and can participate whenever they want to participate, but we don't necessarily need to come back to the board until we reach a candidate that we say we want to move forward as a recommendation to the board.
I'm trying to remember, because we did have a moment where we said the full board will just participate, and I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
the
it was
That was
like,
a subsequent meeting after we actually made
That was
the
after.
vote to authorize.
Yeah.
But I agree that I think that based on the power that you gave to the committee, that my understanding is basically saying they're
Yeah.
empowered to basically go and get us a candidate, come back to
Right,
the candidate and
yeah.
say, you look at
but the full board can participate at any
Right.
point in the
Doesn't
process.
preclude it.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that, and that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's, I think
Yeah.
it's a smoother process for everybody and moves more quickly through.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's where we're notifying you guys. I don't think we need approval for that documentation.
Yeah.
But we're letting you guys know what the process looks like, so that
Yeah.
you're involved from a buy-in perspective.
Mhm.
There's not confusion, there's transparency, and we're saying it out loud to the public.
Mhm.
And for staff, because we do need to involve in that second round after that interview. So we'd have a screening call, we'd have a board interview, we'd narrow it down, and then ideally there would be another interview, which at that point needs to involve stakeholders. And I'm talking friends, department heads, and staff. Is there anyone else that is a stakeholder who would be essential to that?
What did you just say?
Friends, speak friends, staff, department heads. I don't think the foundation wants to be there.
And
Would UHLS need to be involved?
Yeah, no. Chris is busy, Mary just left.
I mean, wouldn't hurt to extend an invite for the, like Jamie or Starlita, maybe, or somebody, you know, as someone's been working with us
Community
as one of the
partner.
community partners. Or, something like that perhaps, but I think we'll be covering it, so I don't, it's also interim.
Right, it's interim. We want to move a little fast. We need to bring them in, but we
Okay.
need someone that is, the biggest issue that we're facing is staff and department heads not feeling included and not having
Absolutely.
transparency and having previous big visions and unilateral decision making. And ideally, we're looking for a leader that is inclusive. And the most important part of the process to me is seeing how they interact with those stakeholders, not us. Because I don't want them to just, for lack of a better phrase, kiss our butt, and say all the right things. I want to see how do they engage with staff. And from my understanding of past practices, the library has maybe asked the staff, department heads, for instance, can you give me questions? We'll ask them in our interview. But that eliminates the dynamic of seeing how they actually engage.
Yes.
And I know that in the past, and not to critique it, but people were allowed to ask questions during the presentations with the last director. But that didn't help inform the actual selection or their recommendation. So I think it's not just about having them present, but actually finding a way to get some kind of recommendation from them too. Even if it's as simple as like a 3-question, do you think they'd be a good fit for the role? Do you think they'd be a good fit for the organization? Do you recommend we move forward with them? And you just, someone might be a good fit for the role. It doesn't mean they're a good fit for Troy. And so it would be nice to have a very little Google form where they just like fill it out after the interview or something.
Well, and because we're looking for the intern person to be someone who can come in and very like in a strong way handle daily operations. I think what I am hopeful by including staff, I mean, it's a good practice no matter the circumstance, so it's great that that's how we're looking at it going forward. But for this particular moment is imperative for us to get the feedback about the nuts and bolts, like ability of this person. Can they do what is needed for this space right now in this moment?
Yeah.
And so that's what I feel most strongly about, like getting from staff in terms of feedback and including them wherever we possibly can.
I had to laugh because I looked at the location of one of the individuals who applied. And it's kind of the exact opposite of Troy. It's wealthy, it's really wealthy. You know, the average income is 150,000. It's certainly not our urban environment that we have here. It was just really interesting. So are you following open meeting law?
What do you mean?
Well, you have a committee that's meeting.
We're actually not a committee. What are we? Are we a subcommittee of the board? What are-
You can't be a subcommittee of the board.
I don't know.
Yeah, I forget.
Well, that's the thing, because last time, this is where I got a little confused, and you were saying, well, if it's the board, it's a smaller group. And I just want to make sure that I understand it, because if we need to be an ad hoc committee, then I would like to form an actual ad hoc committee.
This was the question that I had when we met though, because this is the part that confuses me. If we're talking about people's like personal information and that they applied for a position, that's public, the public should know that.
No, well, first of all, we're not, so I want to be careful. What we're doing is we're doing the work between the meetings. So we're not necessarily meeting and making any decisions. So, right, we haven't made any decisions.
I think that the way the open meeting law feels is that the public has a right to observe the conduct of business. So I'm not an expert, but I think they're pretty conservative in terms of how they interpret the law or regulations, whatever
I'd
it
like
is.
confirmation on that, because
But if the
we're working
business
to
that
not
we're
be
doing,
very
again,
involved.
if the business that we're doing is having conversations about people's resumes and like their personal, like to
I don't
inform.
think-
Well, then you go
That
into
would-
executive
Yeah, that would
session.
be executive session. That would be.
So we're having
So,
meetings to just.
My
do
point
that.
is, like, if we're doing interviews with people and stuff, that's work, that's happening in between. If we're then having a conversation about who we're gonna select, I do agree that that should be a committee and that
Yes.
needs to be in an executive session.
Or how you're organizing.
When
The
even
effort.
the board
That's
meets,
how you're doing the fiscal policy,
when
like,
the board meets to discuss the candidates, to decide on who will actually be hired,
Mhm.
that is gonna be the board taking official action and conducting business. And even if part of that conversation happens in executive session, it does need to be a publicly posted meeting so that the public can attend.
Mhm.
But I don't think the interviews do.
Well, no, I'm not saying the interviews do, but I just don't know.
Oh,
You know, I've heard it referred to as a subcommittee. I've heard it referred to as a committee. Both of those are bodies.
I'd rather make a dedicated ad hoc.
And I think it makes sense.
Ashley has a question.
If we do ad hoc, then we do have to, oh, no, I guess we don't have to, but the only distinction there is that ad hoc means that public members can be a part of it, but I think it's invited, so we don't need to invite anybody unless we want to. So yeah, so it doesn't matter. I have no issue with that.
They don't have to be invited. They, you know, just as the public and you are
No, to be a part of the committee itself.
participated.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would just like to propose so we can like continue moving.
Yeah.
I'm happy to call open meetings tomorrow and get like the complete, like, what can we do? And this is what we're doing right now. How should it look? So I'm happy to call tomorrow and just do that rather than kind of go round robin about what we think. Because it sounds like we don't have like a perfect answer and I'd rather get the closest to perfect answer from the one agency in New York State that picks up on the second ring. So
I know, it's great to be able to call them up and ask questions.
Yep.
totally. So I will do that tomorrow. I'm gonna put it in my calendar, right?
And
If we have to, let's do an ad hoc at the board meeting.
And then I will, as soon as I get off the phone with her, I'll just type an email to everybody and you'll know what we got back.
Yeah, thank you.
could I suggest that you ask about how far in advance, the materials for the meetings
It's
have to be.
24 hours. If it's material for a meeting, it's 24 hours.
Like
So-
additional materials outside of an agenda, you mean like
Yeah,
any
well-
additional materials?
I don't know about outside of the agenda. I would think it would include the agenda.
It doesn't. We've already covered
No,
this.
everything that was in that email you sent me was about time and place,
Okay.
not about agenda. That's why I'm asking
Does
that
say
you check it.
agenda in that email. Okay, you can go and research it. Go.
Wait, I don't know
Third
what
time
I'm
around this
asking.
conversation.
Wait, I don't know what I'm asking. So what do you want me to ask them now? How far in advance for what?
You need to post the agenda and materials, other materials for a meeting on the website. So,
Is it, this just the, okay.
The agenda is,
so if like for this meeting, when should the agenda have been available?
So first of all, I will say this because I did call them about special meetings. Special meetings are ones in which, especially if you're meeting for an emergency or for something that is outside of your typical business, all they said was as soon as you can,
As far as,
posting and
agenda.
all of that. Yes, whether it's the materials, posting it to the public, you just do it as soon as you can.
Yep.
Because the last time we had a special meeting, I called and that was exactly what she told me, is just to do it as quickly as you possibly can. She asked me to only describe the sort of emergency situation in vague terms. I did, and she goes, that absolutely constitutes doing that as soon as you're able to.
Which is also in writing on the website, and is also in writing in the email that I detailed last time.
Yep, okay. And I will find out about everything else as well. And then I think it might be useful because we've gone round robin so many times about open meetings. I think for some of these things, we should just like get it on a sheet that we can always just go back to and reference. Because I do think we've done this about 100 times. That once we talk about it, I forget again. And so it might just be nice to have our own quick sheet, like
It is,
that we can like refer back to.
I'm pretty sure it's in the board procedures document that we drafted. If you can open that up and let's put it in there. But I think that I did pull that all in with the open meeting law ahead of each section. And it says what we have to do in that board procedures doc that we proposed recently.
Right, but I just mean almost like a quick sheet, not one that's like.
So just like something that we
multiple
have.
page. Yes, and then include special like anything that like would be out of the ordinary that we've come across a couple times. Like, we've not had this many special meetings, probably
Yeah.
years. So it's, and I'm not saying we're not gonna have more in the future, and so maybe,
That's fine.
you know what I mean?
Whatever's
Um,
helpful. If we need to, we could put it on potentially the website and link to it from the agendas.
Sure.
That way the public also has access to it
Sure,
and there's
good
not
idea.
confusion, because I think that's the issue.
Yeah,
is
the
that-
library gives the information out.
Exactly.
No, I don't hate it. Okay, so I'll call tomorrow and find out about and
And it's,
what is our actual designation then? Cause is it
It's not written down.
what do you mean designation?
as a committee, a working group?
Oh, we just make a motion to create an ad hoc committee because I'd rather just be buttoned up and have it done. Do we need to wait for the board meeting? Because I don't want to have any confusion over us getting work done in the next week. And if we have to meet it to do that, then it's fine.
I mean, would it behoove us to ask if you're having a conversation with someone, what kind of designation would be best for a group like this? A search group?
Yeah, and by the way, you did do this before, and what did you have?
That's a great question. I think because it was so board related that we didn't have we did have a special meeting. I don't remember having a motion to create one.
I thought it was
But I don't-
Dan, you and Alex.
that was
they
the
were on the-
administration committee.
Okay.
The administration committee led the directors.
Well, we did
Search.
have, Dan was a search committee. We took that, it wasn't
Right.
just,
So she chaired that.
yeah,
That
that
was that
she delegated
that
Alex.
effort.
But I have a suggestion. Why don't we make a motion to create an ad hoc committee, search committee? Do it now, and if we learn anything by next week, we can change that, we can revise it, doesn't mean we have to live with it forever. And that way you have an umbrella for the week
Right.
without calling another special meeting to make a motion. And if there's a change, we can make it next Tuesday.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, and I
Let's
don't
get it.
know that I am, but when we did, I think we did discuss whether to do an ad hoc committee. We ended up just saying, well, we'll just designate these three members of the board.
Yeah.
Looking at the bylaws, I do think that the only provision under the bylaws for anything like this would be an ad hoc committee. So
I agree.
I sort of think that's, it's the best thing to do.
Right.
It doesn't mean that if you guys meet, it should be public, but
Well, there's too many things that we're working on. Like,
Yeah,
that would be
for-
like, oh, you got quotes. Why wasn't that public?
right,
Because it's work.
for you to prepare a spreadsheet delineating who meets the requirements and not, that's not something that needs to be done
No.
publicly.
You just
So-
prepared a spreadsheet for building
Exactly,
committee. It
yeah.
wasn't public.
But if the committee size is 3 people, quorum is 2 people. So if you have 2 people, that makes it public. Subject to open meeting law should be public. It's my experience in talking with them around other areas that I've.
All right.
Yeah, but there's some
Actually,
flexibility to that too, though.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to, create, what,
Create.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to create a, interim director search committee. Do I have a second? Oh, an ad hoc interim director search committee, until we have filled the role. Do I have a second? Evelyn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Who was absent? Okay.
So I guess there was an official acknowledgement anyway.
Okay, good. We needed that. We had asked. We wanted to make sure that we were doing it right. So thank you. Any other questions? Okay to move on. Ashley, thank you for looking into that.
Yep. We can make any changes next Tuesday.
Okay. We do have, I just want to verify, because it's the hiring committee, we do want to send rejections if someone is not meeting the minimum requirements. Is everyone comfortable with that? We'd rather tell someone sooner rather than later and not leave them on the hook. And we don't need a motion for that. I'm just verifying.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a duty of the search committee, is there?
Exactly, we're good. All right.
And a
We're not gonna give
and a
you
respectful one at that.
All right, and I'm asking because I could see at least in one case, if we're like, oh, I don't know. Do we hold on someone that we're not sure about? Or do we hold ourselves to that? We'll discuss it amongst ourselves in an open meeting. Okay, website internship. All right, we ready for some fun? Apparently someone communicated to 3 RPI students that they have an internship with the Troy Public Library to build their website. Unfortunately, I don't know who communicated that because it's not true. So I know that that had been previously initiated by the director and he was looking into an agreement and we did pay for that from an attorney to come back, but that was never given to RPI and that was never structured. It was never signed. But at some point, a professor told his students that they had gotten the internship and you have 3 students who chose to change their plans for the summer and to stay in Troy. And that they had an internship and they wanted to know if it was paid.
And there's no way for us to know the genesis of all of that planning, where that directive came from?
It came from a professor. I've got an email out to him and he has not contacted me back. But I know they're in finals week, graduation. I don't know if he's on leave. So I don't. I did bring them in last week on Thursday. Unfortunately, Gilded Age was supposed to be here at 3. They decided to move theirs up till we had a crowd of 40 people saying the director wants to come in right now. We had to shut the reading room down, shut down access to printers, notify staff. And they said, we're outside, we want to come in. It was a deep debacle. Right as 3 RPI students were coming in for another meeting, we got it all done. I said to them, I want to honor the fact that you've thought for the last week that you have an internship and that you were excited and that you've changed your plans for the year or for the summer. But you don't have an internship, but I will bring it to the board. Let's discuss it and see if there's an opportunity here that could be mutually beneficial because we do need a website. And the main thing is that this is policy level stuff. We're going to be out of compliance with website accessibility. And they just extended the deadline by 1 year. We thought we were coming up on that deadline in the last month and UHLS had put together a training for it. We now have an additional year. I think it might be 2. So we have a little bit of time, but we need to improve the quality and accessibility of our website soon. It is out of date. It is awful. It is difficult to manage. The staff has problems with managing it on a regular basis. And but how do we do this? And are they the right people to do it? Do you want to go to a vendor? Not. My perspective is that these kids, they're really smart, they're great. They do have 2 prototypes that they built with a team of 6 for their semester class. That class is now over. They did not. I don't quite understand the process. It looks like they just kind of went page by page on the website. They talked to Patrick, they talked to a couple department heads. That was about it. They built 2 versions. It's actually on GitHub and it's semi-working, but not really. It doesn't integrate with anything. My suggestion is that they could actually do the design for us. They cannot do the build. They're not going to be around to maintain it. There is no way that they have the knowledge or capability to do all the integrations and the setup and everything else. They don't have that level of experience. But it could be very fulfilling and a good position for us. And I did actually reach out to the RPI president because they're forward, the 10-year strategic plan that RPI has says that their 3rd strategic goal is to have increased partnerships and with the capital region and to really make us the quantum valley. And they want to see Troy especially and the community improve. And they want that to happen through relationships with RPI. And I said, hey, just wasn't sure if you were aware, but your students actually created a website for us. They're looking into this internship. It would be great to talk to you further and just see if there are other opportunities between RPI and Troy for us to do something. I don't know what that even looks like, but let's talk further. I have not heard anything back. It's a very busy week. Want to just throw this out there. I think that there's a big opportunity. Patrick cannot teach them anything. He does not have that background in actual website development or management at all. Nobody on staff does. If you're going to do an internship, you either get paid to do grunt work or you learn something. So we either pay them or we don't go with them at all. But at some point, we're going to have to pay for web design.
And it would be nice if RPI would be willing to pay for the internship for these students.
That's my idea.
And every other way that they'd like to have a relationship
Yeah.
with us.
Or
We give them credit.
another proposal, so the
Yeah.
kids, they said that they could do it without getting paid. They said they would be willing to do it without pay. That means they would have to get like part-time jobs and things. I don't see them spending the entire summer building this website, so they should probably do that just to occupy their time no matter what. But I think that my thought was maybe there's also a potential that there's a small amount of money that the friends would be willing to put in, like a small stipend for them that could help offset this at a small level. Like if we're talking $1,000, $1,500 per student, it's not a ton, but it's something. The biggest issue is that we need a release that we own everything, which is what Tim had talked to the attorney about, is that this has to be signed in agreement with the Career Center and RPI that we own all of the website that they designed for us, and they can't come back and say this is like freelance work and I'm entitled to it and you have to compensate me after the fact, right? So we just need to have that settled. RPI Career Center called me back today. I haven't gotten back to them, but I don't even know how an internship should be structured with them. I don't know anything about that. So let's find out if that's even an option. Yeah.
The Career Center may also know another faculty member who would be willing to offer, credit,
Right.
class credit. If you can't get their professor, there might be someone else or another connection there. And at the cost of RPI credits, that might actually be even better than money, straight money.
Right.
Or with a stipend, it might make a very nice package.
Yeah. What is that? $1.5 million in RPI dollars. Sorry. It's expensive.
So what, do you know what department they're from?
Great question. It was like I'm gonna be guessing at it. They did tell me. It had to do with like information and technology studies and da da da. Yeah, I'm not saying it correctly, but it's web and digital access. Yeah.
So the assumption is that they're in full understanding of how our website is not in compliance. To be able to design it to be in compliance.
No, that's a good question. They need to learn that. They know how to build sites. They understand design. I can tell you after 1 hour with them, they learn a lot from me. They don't know what a component-based library is versus a template-based library, and we need components. We don't need templates.
So then that leads to the obvious question. The obvious question is, even if, when we don't have the money to pay them, and we'll say that obviously, RPI absolutely has the money. Um, who's gonna supervise them?
Patrick's been supervising some so far. I'm saying that from the perspective that he owns the relationship and just kind of communicates. He can't advise them.
Right,
this
so
is-
that's one aspect of the problem. And the other is, and this is as someone who advises student teachers, and I have Albany students all the time. It's still my time to do, so like that's someone else's work time to do that, and so I'm just curious, like the scope of that piece too, how many hours someone would have to use to properly supervise them so that they get what they need, but that it's also like valuable to us.
I can do it for 1 to 2 hours a week.
I think that's a terrible idea.
I know.
You're doing so much already.
I know, exactly.
I don't want to do it right now when you have an interim director coming on. And my perspective is this, the area of expertise that I have in my life. And it's why I partially joined the board. You guys need a new site, and I didn't touch it or talk about it for the entire 1.5 years that I was here, because almost 2 years, because you don't have the resources and there's no point in having the conversation. But Tim wanted me to meet with Patrick. When Patrick got here, they tried to set up a meeting for me to train him. And I pushed it off, and then everything happened.
Mhm.
And now we're here, and you, like, no matter what, you're gonna have to have a site. And the question is, do you pay tens of thousands of dollars for it later? Or do you get the site ready to go for a developer so that it cuts the cost later?
And the idea is that they have the ability to actually do that, like, because that would be my other concern is like, are they capable of doing, like, and I ask this in a broad sense, not because I know who these individuals are, I'm sure they're very smart, they go to RPI. But like, just making sure this.
Hey, I went to RPI, it doesn't mean anything.
I went to RPI. To God's ears, no, but yeah, I don't know, I guess this is one of those things where I'm not like, I don't have
Yeah,
like
I
a big
don't-
opposition to it. It's mostly just, as I look at the endless list of things, I'm like, oh, okay, this is another thing for someone to manage. And I just, that's my overall concern, just another
It's gonna
thing.
wind up being a time suck for you or for us to try to find somebody else to supervise or the money to pay them. And then what we get out of it is, they get an internship and we get something that we're still gonna end up having to pay somebody else to redo later because.
And it is going to cost us, because it's going to cost us in legal to ensure that we have an agreement, and not because we don't
That's already
need
been done.
templates for that. But we also need the back and forth with them to make sure that there is a memorandum of whatever, right?
Yeah, that's already kind of initiated, and,
Okay.
so I hear you, but we're $1,100 into this so far.
Great.
That none of us approved or authorized, by the way.
Right.
But to your point, my biggest concern is that if we get a design out of this, depending on who you go to build with, a lot of shops will want to handle the design and the build. And will we, at that point, have someone that's like, oh, and is it a waste of effort? And I would want to make sure that you actually have someone that can build and maintain the site. Maintenance might be divorced from build. And I say this because I was talking to another design shop locally recently, and they said they tend to do design and maintenance for up to like 6 months, and then they stop at that point. And you're getting maintenance right now from UHLS with WordPress plugins and theme, but you're not getting like website management outside of just basic security and making sure that things are up to date, like with the plugins, so that no one like can come in with a vulnerability or a hack right now. That doesn't mean that it's not possible, but it reduces the potential. It's going to be a cost factor later, and you're going to be looking at somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000, $40,000 on the website. So if you can cut that, that's a good thing. You do have people who've spent an entire semester working on the site so far with department heads, and it feels like momentum that would be a shame to waste. So I don't personally want to take on anything else, but it's one of those moments where it's like, oh, okay. And here's what I'd say. I don't want to supervise the website from the perspective of like what goes on there. I just want to teach them like the order of events that need to happen. Like they went from step 2 to like step 7. They need to go back in time a little bit. And what I'm talking about is like a content audit. They didn't start by crawling the whole site and going, what's on here? They didn't do they did a minor competitive analysis, but they didn't match it. Yeah, stop talking. That doesn't take much time for someone to actually do. The time is going to be spent with them, and I'd be worried about the labor on the department heads or staff to
Yes.
inform what goes where and how they make those decisions. That's more my concern, because when I was in here, I had that moment where Patrick had called like 3 department heads in and they had a screen up here. So they were taking this room up. It was in the middle of the workday. Not all department heads were present, and they're like going back and forth about like labels and where they get nested. And I'd be worried about how much time it consumes from people when there's so much change happening right now.
Right.
I don't know, lots of thoughts. I'm sitting here like, oh, we've got free labor, but is it free? It's gonna take time. Again, it got initiated by the former director, so in my mind, this is one of those moments where we're not supposed to introduce something new, but this is something that is already in motion. He was already going to do this. I don't know. I'm bringing it to the table because I got an email last week from 3 very excited college kids who are staying in Troy because they have an internship with us. I
When did
feel
you
bad.
say the extension was for the compliance piece?
It's either 1 or 2 years.
No.
One.
Well,
Okay.
I think it may depend from what I saw.
It is, yeah. There's
It
a
depends on certain circumstances.
The public libraries one.
1 year from when?
From
Was it
April.
last
April
to next
24?
April?
Yeah.
So it's
Okay, so
April
April
27.
Okay.
And it could be extended again, but right now it's a year extension.
Which,
Just send you.
I'll be
To
back.
get it.
There were 2 trainings at UHLS. Patrick went to one. I had told him to go to them. He apparently did not go to the one that was on this.
And the training was on compliancy or on what was the training on exactly again? I'm
One
sorry.
was on web compliance.
Okay.
To my understanding, the other one I think was on general accessibility for libraries. Yes.
And there,
I
I mean, I have other questions about it in a general sense, but I don't want to hold this up. I mean, that's the confusing thing to me is like the compliancy without any support piece, right? So like that you have to do the thing, but there's no financial, like, and it costs a bunch of money to do it, but there's really no support out there unless there is support out there that I don't.
Yeah, welcome to
Right.
the current library director's email thread. What are we doing? How are we doing this? When are you doing it by? Like that's, yeah.
And this is a federal mandate?
I think it's state, but I'm guessing, is it federal?
I believe it's federal.
Okay.
I have the Eslin webinar on this. I attended it. So I've got all the materials. I admit a lot of it was like, huh? You know, because I'm not well versed in this, in the technology and in the semantics, but I do have all the recording and all the material. And I will just send it out to everybody. I just have to go and figure it out. It's in the wrong email.
Do we have money in the current budget if
No.
hypothetically we wanted to move forward with seeking a contractor for
No.
any of it?
No, my understanding was that was gonna be like a 2027. I thought, here's what I'll say. Tim and I had talked about it and he said probably 2027. And I said, okay. And we talked about it in 2025 as something that would be nice to have in 2026. I remember no conversation at all about it being in our budget for 2026. Did anybody else ever hear us talk about website? No.
All I know is that there was that extra section with money for IT
Right, but that
That-
was this.
hadn't existed before. So
Right.
I don't know what.
I think that was for the printer, the self-printing service and some other things, and because they knew they needed to go to, they know that they need redundancy and succession planning for Sean, because Sean's said that. So, no, there is nothing in the budget for 2026 for this, which is where it's gonna have to be a 2027 budget item.
So the board needs to make a decision on this pronto?
Only from the perspective of being respectful to the students,
Mhm.
but that's not, but yeah, we don't have to otherwise.
I have, what are the three
Oh.
students doing?
And I'm sorry, from the perspective of compliance for 2027, yes, because you can't do a design and build in 4 months.
Hmm.
But yes, sorry, go for it.
Why is it three students?
Because out of the 6, only 3 wanted to do an internship.
That it's going to take all three of them to, or are they going to do different components of the website? Or
I don't know.
they like buddies?
Don't know. What is the question? Is the question you only want one of them?
No,
Do you want them to fight to the death to figure it out? What is the goal?
that sounds like a good way of
Okay.
doing it. I mean, if,
Or
because
be a
if
slap challenge.
if
Whoever
they get
wins.
paid, it's cheaper to pay one than to pay three. But
Yeah.
the other thing is, I know that Barry of the Friends worked with computers. I don't know whether he worked with websites.
Where did he work?
When I knew him, he worked from home and, I think he was a contractor.
But doing what? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what kind of work he did, but he seemed facile with computers. Perhaps if he worked with websites, perhaps he would be a resource.
Websites. One option, if we wanted to, is that we have a website ad hoc board committee. And then it's not just me or us trying to do something somewhere else. It would be nice to have people that are experts from somewhere else out in the community, which would give us an opportunity to have Barry or someone else come in and have them meet at a set cadence for this period with them.
Advise.
Yeah.
I might know someone too who could potentially be a participant in that. I can ask.
And then there's someone who I think does web design. Who in the past has said, "Oh, is there anything I can help you with at the library?"
Yeah.
So
And if the RCI career office is interested, they could even designate somebody for this committee, at least to like build that relationship.
Exactly. That's
Maybe the professor?
honestly the best option is
Yeah.
if there's if they will give them credit and if they will help them with the process. Yes. All right.
So it
So,
might be something Lewis would want to be on too. He seems interested in technology.
how about we?
Can you put it on the agenda for Tuesday?
Exactly.
And then hopefully identify some of those people between now and Tuesday so that we could actually create the committee.
Yeah,
with
or you gotta call all those people you just mentioned.
Sorry, guys.
Didn't I just mention up to? That's what I
Yeah.
mentioned.
All of them, all two of them. No, seriously, like to the next meeting and find out if we're cooking with a little gas here. There's only one way to know,
I know Barry.
please.
Shall I call him and find out whether he's even
Um,
interested or has the skills?
Yeah. The person I keep thinking of is, why am I forgetting his name? Oh my goodness. His friends, Ellie Iron's husband,
Oh, Dan Pfeiffer.
Dan. Dan would be phenomenal. I'm gonna put Dan question mark.
Yeah.
Dan and I.
Do you want me to reach out to Dan?
Yeah, if you want to go for it, let him know, Rhea would be on it with him. And I say that because we've already done website builds together.
You want me to tell him what?
I'd be there with him.
Okay, that he wouldn't,
Yeah.
I was gonna tell him he'd run the whole thing.
No, yeah, and the good news is it's just a design, not a build. But we want to be, if you can tell them the designers, are gonna need assistance in, design for build, like how to set it up.
Assistance in design for build.
Yeah, they need to know how to do the pass off.
Okay, and it's just for the summer.
Yep.
So what do we got, like 8 weeks, 12 weeks?
I think it's like, well, the summer Saturdays were 15 weeks.
Yeah,
So say somewhere between 8 and 12 weeks,
yeah, I'd say 12.
Yeah,
Because I think-
student internships.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
And as we're envisioning this for, I don't know how, I mean, that's the other question I have is how often are these students coming in to do that or where they're doing it? I don't know, but how often and just really like what the commitment would actually look like an
We have,
advisement of,
Like 3 meetings.
okay,
And-
Total meetings.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
okay.
3 meetings, probably like a board meeting too, right? Like a board meeting or 1 or 2. So probably like 4 meetings over the summer. And that otherwise there'd be some email correspondence. They might want to meet with the students like one-off or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But
Either way, I'll CC you on it just because obviously, but then also you add anything in that I might have forgotten.
thank you. Yeah, I think if you had Dan, Barry and me, you'd have a stellar group. I'm not gonna, this is what I do professionally. I'm gonna have an opinion. You can't, I have a very strong.
Oh, we know.
opinion.
So when you say Barry, the Barry I'm supposed to call?
Yeah, right. You're gonna reach out to Barry and then your design person too. Yep. All right, let's talk about other things. Can we move on?
Yes.
All right, and I'm also not telling them they have an internship. I will talk to the Career Center, figure out what's required from all of that perspective. That's the only thing I'm gonna do right now.
And if you hear back from the president on whether he's got cash money
I know.
Is somebody also gonna reach out to the Friends to see if they might be willing to,
stipend
yeah.
in
Yeah.
theory.
I wanted to talk to them more generally, so let me add that to the list of things that we gotta cover. Or not.
Although when the Friends agrees to pay for something, it's, you know, if it doesn't go for this, it could go for something else, so. kind
I
of
know,
zero-sum
there's an
game.
aspect of that that I absolutely hate. You know, that is money like raised by the community. RPA takes a lot from our community, so it just feels like RPA.
When I was a field instructor, I used to get free courses in exchange. Maybe we could get some free RPI courses.
Okay to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. NEA grant, we did not get it. That's the Big Read grant. It may feel like a hit. It was, I think, a smaller chance, but highly competitive. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, we also.
And this was the one city.
It's this big, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
citywide Big Read.
Yep.
And there is a companion grant for the McCarthy Foundation,
Mhm.
which I think we're more concerned about because we are likely to get that. And that was going to be a match for what wasn't covered by NEA. So the question here is around scope and whether that, and I say it's a good thing that we didn't get NEA, excuse me, because that really was being led by the director. There were a lot of partnerships. There was a lot of work that had to be done across many different department heads. It's a great thing that would have benefited Troy. But I can tell you the department heads right now are going, I don't know how we were even going to do it. So, especially with this much change happening.
Didn't you express concern about it even before?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're concerned about the McCarthy grant?
Yeah, the concern on that one is that if we get the McCarthy grant, which was a match to the NEA grant that we didn't get, can that be adapted? And Patrick suggested it's either adapted to a smaller program that's still maybe a city READ program, but was smaller, or can those funds be reallocated to something else?
I would think that they would be flexible. I mean, they're a family foundation that have supported us for years. One of the McCarthys worked here at the library, nice young man.
Okay. So we'll just
I would
pursue it.
just ask Bob,
Switch.
Okay.
tell him that the grant that you were having the match didn't come through, and would they consider having the money go for whatever you want it to go to?
I'm not sure it was here or at another institution that I'm part of, that they also fund, where they switched projects. They said, just use it for something else. They're very open to things. And they might say no, but they're usually very, especially to the library.
Website. Sorry. Would you build a website? Okay, great. By the way, we did get I think we got, there's so much that's happened. I think we got the Art Center grant.
Yeah, those awards all just went out, so if you
Yeah,
did,
That's pretty typical. We generally
Yeah.
get those.
Yeah, which is gonna be more
Not
like
always.
a 8-week program, versus the Fall Fest, just for the record. Fall Fest is not happening this year. This like larger 8-week thing is. That I don't have details on, but I can share it. Or find out. Okay. Now we have to go into executive session. I would like to make a motion to enter executive session to discuss the financial and employment history of a particular individual. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, if we can pause the recording. Do you want to stay or heading out?
I'll head out as somebody can do the already.
Yes, I'll do that. Thank you very much. You want a snack for the road?
Sure.
Dinner.
Marie does. Want some snacks?
Where's the?
Under the, yeah, hit that,
This?
the arrow.
Yeah, record setting.
Oh, more?
Oh.
What if you go up to the recording on the top part, top bar? There you go.
And pause recording, right?
Thank you. We exited executive session at 8:32 PM. Anthony, seconded. Motion passed unanimously. No actions were taken. Our last agenda item is that I would like to make a motion to enter executive session at 8:32 PM to discuss the employment history of a particular person leading to the discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ashley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we exited executive session at 9:04 PM. Anthony seconded, motion passed unanimously. No actions were taken. The date of the next board meeting is a week from tomorrow, Tuesday, May 12th at 5:30 PM at the main building. There's no more comment, or public, so we don't have comment. I would like to make a motion to adjourn at 9:04 PM.
Second.
Ashley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.